This is the talk show that takes a no-holds-barred approach to politics, where truth and integrity are the standard and the Constitution honored. From Renaissance Studios, this is Champion News Talk Radio.
Good morning and welcome to another great edition of Champion News Talk Radio. We're brought to you by championnews.net, and we're your choice for the conservative voice. This is Carol Parisi. This morning, our founder, Jack Roeser, and myself have Senator Jim Oberweis with us, and we're very excited to have you, Senator. How are you this morning?
Thank you, Carol. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
And good morning, Jack. How are you?
Oh, I'm just fine. I think it's going to be very, very interesting talking to Jim. I've known him for quite a while, and he's had an interesting political career. And more recently, of course, with the Central Committee of the Republican Party, some real adventures. But why don't you get on with Jim talking about what your present position is? Introduce yourself.
Sure. Thanks, Jack. First of all, I don't consider myself a politician. I consider myself a businessman who's run for political office. And quite frankly, my experience in Springfield has been very much of a learning experience. It was some pleasant things and some very disappointing things. On the positive side, everybody has been very friendly, even the Democrats, and I think that surprised me how warm and welcoming they were. But on the other hand, I have been shocked and dismayed at the lack of economic understanding and the lack of business understanding by some of my colleagues. Quite frankly, by many of them, I'm looked at as a freak in Springfield. I've had people come up to me and say, Jim, why are you here? You have a successful business. Why are you here? Those two things are incompatible.
Don't you have a job?
Yeah, exactly, right. So I'm hoping that as time goes on, we can elect a few more people who understand economics, who understand what it takes to get entrepreneurs and business people willing to commit their capital, their time, and their resources to create jobs and opportunities here in Illinois, rather than wanting to move to Indiana or Missouri or Florida.
Senator Oberweis, let's talk a little bit about that, because it takes initiative to build a business. It takes a certain amount of financial understanding and capacity.
It takes pleasing different groups of people. You got at least three elements to it. You got the owner, you got the employers, and you got the customers. And you can see what happened to the automobile industry when the crazy unions ruined the product and the cost of the cars, and the Japanese made better cars for less money.
Right.
And but when you're in business, you learn you're inhibited by the means you're using and the customers you must please. In politics, baloney flies, and they tell you a bunch of lies about it, and they don't lose their jobs and they don't lose their customers until they get pretty bad. Lying substitutes for a real thing. But a businessman, you get conditioned. I think your response to the things of life, of business, politics, whatever, they have your personal elements. They have what goes on in your head, but in trying to please those two other elements, the workers and the customers, you develop maybe, I would call it a gut sense. You've been through enough occasions every day of restraining your own desires because they impinge on what you want to get done and upon other people's desires. You go through a big learning period in learning to handle the complex factors that are in life. In politics, there is no test to that. You have to get pretty bad in politics before you lose your customers.
I think the dichotomy between, and correct me if I'm wrong, business and politics is, business is a win-win situation. You're an entrepreneur, you're an innovator, you hire employees, they win, they feed their families, they win, taxes get paid, the state wins.
If successful.
If successful, yes, absolutely. But in politics, it's either win or lose, and it seems that we keep And I'm not talking Republican, Democrat losing.
I think we get it. I think we get it. That being a businessman is necessary. All you have to look is the results. There's an awful lot of guys downstate where that is the best job they ever had or expect to get. It's more pay, more pension, and more power than they ever could get in the business world. So
many people look at me or Jack and they say, oh, well, you guys, you own your business. You just tell people what to do and it gets done. But I think Jack will tell you it doesn't work that way at all.
No, it doesn't.
You have to always please your customers. But besides that, you have to convince your employees of your vision for the company. You have to get buy-in on that. And quite frankly, I've just experienced that with Oberweis Dairy. We decided to create a second concept. I wanted to offer up a center of the plate.
To clear things up, you are the Oberweis Dairy Company?
I'm Chairman of Oberweis Dairy, yes.
He makes the ice cream cones. The kids love them. Too bad the kids don't vote.
Free ice cream for everyone? No.
Where I was going with this is I wanted the company to begin to have a second concept that would be available at lunch because, our big time is in the evening for our ice cream. And I got our management together, and we put together a committee to look at it, to investigate, to come back with what they recommend. And quite frankly, I wanted salads and sandwiches, a healthy approach to kind of balance off the ice cream a little bit. And they came back with burgers and fries. It wasn't my idea. Then I had to make a choice. Do I want to insist on my idea, salads and sandwiches, and have employees who are kind of lukewarm on the idea, and ultimately it probably doesn't work, or let them go with what they believe, where they're excited on it, and they'll really work to make it happen. We decided we had to go with what the employees wanted.
That's effective leadership and leading a team. Is you have a vision.
Tell us, Jim, did that work?
It's actually working pretty well so far. Our first one opened in Skokie. Our second one opened about a week ago in Glen Ellen. Our third will be in Naperville shortly, and the fourth in Bolingbrook. So we're rolling them out as dual concept stores. Half Oberweis ice cream store, half that burger joint, TBJ.
Well, being a senator, you could probably get a law passed that the customers aren't to drink out of quart bottles, like the mayor of New York.
I think we'll pass on that.
So, Senator Oberweis, what bills have you sponsored in Springfield?
I have been lead sponsor on just 2 bills, and I was a co-sponsor on 3 other bills. The 2 bills that I was lead sponsor on, one was for true pension reform, and the other was to bring Illinois in line with other surrounding states and increase our speed limit on interstate highways to 70. Quite frankly, the pension reform bill was by far the most important. It was what we were really concerned about and interested in, but unfortunately it also had no chance because it got no support from Mr. Cullerton, who is heavily influenced by the unions, and did not get any support from Speaker Madigan either. But this was the right thing to do. It was a bill really drafted by Illinois Policy Institute. And quite frankly, it's not just a theoretical idea. It's actually working and in place right now in the state university employee system. In that system, a new employee has a choice between going for the regular state pension, the defined benefit, or a defined contribution, a 401k type plan. Approximately 15% have selected the 401k or the defined contribution system. If everybody were converted to that, which is what our bill would have required over a period of time, it would mean that the state would never have future unfunded liabilities, and it would solve our pension problem forever.
Well,
as I said, had no chance of passing.
All right, I want to get back to the pensions, but how did you get that speed limit bill passed after it failed several years prior?
Sure. One of the big criticisms of me has always been, well, gee, can he work across the aisle with the Democrats? And I knew as a freshman that I had a lot to learn. I was actually pretty quiet the first few months, but this was a bill that had been sponsored by Republicans in previous sessions, and nobody wanted to take it on, thinking that it couldn't get passed. I thought it would be a good learning experience for me, and I thought it was the right thing to bring Illinois in line with other states and to recognize that people are traveling more than 65 miles an hour already on our interstate highways. So I took the bill, and the first thing I thought about was, okay, what's the first step? First step is it goes to a committee. You would expect the Transportation Committee for this bill. So I asked, who's the head of the Transportation Committee? And it turns out it was a Democrat senator by the name of Marty Sandoval. Well, as it turned out, I had met Marty Sandoval a few years earlier, I had been involved in building homes for the homeless in Ensenada, Mexico, and got my daughter involved in that. We had both gone, and for the next year, my daughter was going, although I wasn't able to, and Senator Sandoval's daughter was also going, and we met at a fundraiser for the Building Homes project, and got along okay. I mean, nothing particular, but I sat down.
It was a common interest.
At least we knew each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I sat down and explained to him why I thought this would be a good bill. That there's nothing Republican or Democrat about the speed limit. It's good for the state of Illinois, and eventually convinced him to support it and sign on as a co-sponsor with me. And then I asked him, okay, well, you've been here before. You know what to do. What's the next step? And he said, well, you have to get an African-American legislator, you have to get a Chicagoan, you have to get a downstater, you have to get a woman, to have diversity supporting the bill.